Hello and welcome to this forest talk. So today I'm here in another forest or another patch of forest here in Finland, and I thought of talking about Wim Hof, the Wim Hof method breathing and different breathing techniques a little bit more. Then also connected to individuation. So, yes. Well, when it comes to individuation, there's a lot of shadow stuff involved, and a lot of stuff that, is rather stressful. I mean, especially if things from like trauma are coming up, and these breathing techniques really help in keeping one centered, and also helps to like deal with the added stress that might come up from looking at certain uncomfortable things. And when it comes to trauma, really also like the Wim Hof method, I don't know, not for all people maybe, but for some at least, it really brought up a lot of the trauma stuff that they had. And there's a bit of a reason for it. It's that kind of what's going on is that you're when you're doing these breathing techniques, like the Wim Hof method one. I have like a video on that, I have videos with that in it, and also then the other ones that I have that have like one or two more breaths for the inhale, really to get more oxygen in. But so what it really does is that you have the inhale, so you're inhaling a lot of oxygen, and what it kind of does is that it kind of, I guess, tricks the mind into this like fight or flight state. So you go to like the lower part of the brain with that to tap into something that we normally can't really consciously tap into, and we voluntarily kind of go into this kind of stress state, but then we hold the breath, and then we go into a state of like calm, you could say it. And then while going into that calming state, what is happening is that we're kind of teaching the body that like, there's all this stress here, but actually it's okay. And it's kind of a training in I guess that in that sense. But for people who have like trauma, anxiety, or have like post-traumatic stress disorder, how they call it nowadays, or anything like that going on, they can benefit kind of in the way of that it helps bring up a lot of stuff from the past trauma. So now it is quite intense then to do it, and probably not the most comfortable to like, because kind of what I'm personally feeling with regards to like the Wim Hof method breathing is just like it allows us to tap into well, not per se like the left or the right brain, as really. It's not something like that. It's like we tap into the right brain instead of the left brain. It's like no, we tap into like all kind of both, and we bring everything like back to the body, back to a lower level. That's also kind of connected to the hormones, because it is something that I've found is really needed for us a next step to really go through it, because the thing is you can know a lot of things mentally in your head, but that doesn't really, well, I guess train the body in a way to like rewire certain things, because it's like we're dealing with certain mental things that we can deal with, but then there's still like I guess hormonal, biological, physiological things that we kind of need to deal with too. And I've really found that this the Wim Hof method breathing, but also kind of the other breathing techniques that are out there, which the Zen Life Dan, the DMT dude that is now I think it's called now Breathwork Beats, but yeah, I maybe should just put a link in the description, because he did change his name quite a few times, but well, Dan has a lot of different breathing techniques too that are worth checking out, and but I've found that it really helps to keep oneself more like centered and grounded, and so I thought of like mentioning that a bit, but what it does is it allows us to tap into our nervous system in a way that we normally can't, and then we can really tap into really deeper layers of ourselves that are very deep and buried and very like, I guess unconscious, normally speaking. And through clearing all of that unconscious baggage that is there, these maybe not per se just the mental things, it's like more like very the physiological, biological, hormonal aspects of it, hormonal, I mean with that, like the stress hormones, and allows us to to get out of that lower part of the brain, because for some people, for myself included, for a long time I was kind of stuck in that lower part of the brain because of the hormones and being in constant vigilance and kind of like a stress state. Even though I have to say that the Netherlands, where I'm originally from, is quite stressful as a country, I blame it on the lack of force, really, and nature. Because they don't really have this as much, and I don't know, the lives there are quite stressful to begin with, really. But that aside, it's like, really helps one in a different way to center oneself. I found like with my drumming too, that really has like a centering effect, but it's different. It's really different in if I'm just drumming and I'm not like really, I guess, planning on going into a trance state or anything. It's very, I guess, calming and grounding. But even though like going into a trance state is much different, much different. That's something maybe for another time. But so where was I going with this? So that in individuation, it's like, this really helps to like keep us in the center, and when we're dealing with stuff from the shadow, that we're not like, I guess, overwhelmed by it as easily and like stressed the fuck out by it, and that we don't want to deal with certain aspects, or not maybe consciously but unconsciously, and it helps us to like tap into these things more. And yeah, that's just something I just wanted to like bring up. I had that kind of on my mind, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna talk a bit about this. And yeah, I already had said something about it though in like my shamanic wheel of individuation video that I also have on the channel. But yeah, I kind of felt like to highlight this one more time, to mention this. Yeah, and that's what I was still thinking. Yes. So what I was also thinking about was about distress hormones, and how these hormones influence the immune system. So if we're in a constant state of stress, the immune system is kind of lowered, and the body focuses its energy on different things, on certain parts of the immune system. So that's kind of why the Wim Hof method breathing, but also like the other breathing techniques, bring this like immunity boost in a way, because it allows us, really allows our bodies to not waste a lot of resources on being in stress constantly, because of like, let's say, something due to trauma or whatever, because it uses a lot of like energy and resources on that, and if we clear this, a lot of this energy becomes available, for other things, for the body, but also kind of for ourselves, that we kind of have that energy to, well, spent on other things, so we're not so like exhausted after doing certain things, because it would like trigger all kinds of trauma, consciously or unconsciously, or trigger certain things within the body. So yeah, that's very, very I would say good with regards to that too. So now it keeps us, I would say, overall in a better, calmer state, so that our bodies are more well, relaxed and capable of functioning more well, how they should when they're not in a state of stress. And I think that's overall like a benefit, especially when dealing with individuation, and with everything kind of what comes up in there, like the shadow work, but also the anima work too, because anima work really is like about relating, well, to ourselves, but also to the world around us. So yeah, and I think also in that sense, I don't know, breathwork kind of also helps one to keep, like I said, centered, and so we kind of stay on path, and we don't get bogged down by all kinds of other stuff, and allows us to like keep in the center, and try to I guess like spiral down into the unconscious, and closer to like that alignment with the self, or spiral upward. I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it, but like really it's like it centers one, and tries to bring one better in alignment with the self. And I think that's really what it is about individuation, that alignment with the self. And I don't know, I don't think it's something like self-actualization in the sense of like some I saw one video about like self-actualization, and it gave examples of all kinds of I guess, geniuses that were kind of still very, very detached from, I guess, all their body and stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know if that is actually self-actualization, if you're very much in your mind all the time, or in imagination, and you're just, I guess, walking around and floating about and stuff, or oh, okay, I guess the opposite of that, because it's like then you're either too much in your left or your right brain, and we're supposed to be in the center, and we're supposed to be in our bodies. And the video that that is out, or is gonna come out, depending on when you watch this, about Sun Wukong, had also, in that individuation story, a horse in it. The horse representing the great strength of the body, and really representing the body in that story. And I think that's very, very cool in general, that that element is in that story, because, well, we are embodied in we are here in this body, so it comes with it within the entire journey. And yeah, so I don't know, that's kind of like some of the things that I had on my mind, really, that I wanted to say to all of you a bit, to, I guess, highlight that again. And yeah, and like I said, I have like the shamanic wheel of individuation, but I also have the other individuation videos and archetype videos too, that I have, and it's really to, like, I guess, give a bit of a basis for it. And you can supplement a lot of it too with other unions, and I would really suggest doing that, because it's very personal and subjective, what you're dealing with. It's your unconscious. I can, with the videos that I made, give my perspectives on it, but you should look at other people too, to look at, like, someone like Jung to live by, maybe, or even though they have their own, I guess, biases, so have I, and stuff, and just look at these different unions, and even non-Jungians, with regarding to, like, trauma, and figuring that out, to, like, I guess, paint a proper picture for yourself, because that's kind of what needs to happen, really, because you can't just, in that sense, just follow someone just like that. You have to figure that out for yourself. I mean, there are elements in there that are quite, like, I guess, universal with certain things, but then there's a lot of nuance in how certain things pop up, certain things what you've dealt with. I mean, Jung, for instance, was dealing with his intellect, while I was dealing with, I would say, maybe trauma more than, like, intellect or something like that. So it's like, that's my take, and like, on the journey. And then you kind of have other unions too that have their own, like, story and background, and that's kind of important to know too, like, what's the background of the person, who, what they went through, so it paints a bit of a picture of their journey, like why they were dealing with, like, certain aspects. So if you're going through, like, something like the Red Book, knowing about Jung's life will help you a bit to understand why he was dealing with, I guess, certain aspects within his subconscious, and why I guess the anima and kind of the trickster, messenger, archetype represented it for him in this form, but for me it was different. And for other unions and other people, it's kind of different too. It's because it's, I don't know, it's, I guess, in a way, like, clothed in some cultural, mythological garb, and yeah, you have to kind of like see it, like what is that for you, and kind of like translate it for yourself, and then figure it out. And in that manner, it's like I also have a Discord server, and there are Jungians in there too, and non-Jungians, and different people who are on the journey of individuation. So maybe um, maybe that's something for you too, if you're interested in that, to join and kind of talk with these other people, and try to figure things out if you don't know something, and be like, well, what does this aspect of this dream mean, or this aspect of this and this, then see what like other people think, and see like, I don't know, maybe you feel like it resonates, and you look into it, and it's like, yeah, that actually makes sense within like my context, or nah, it doesn't make sense. You know, to really, I guess, help each other to figure this thing out, for, oh, yeah, and see what like yeah, resonates, and what seems to fit, because in the end, you know, it's our own subconscious mind, and we know it best. And well, like Jung said, the person, the psychologist, kind of just, and oh yeah, the healer goes kind of into to awaken the healer in the person, the archetype of their own healer, and kind of the healing is well done by themselves, because they have to do the work, because they're the ones who are I guess the master of their own subconscious. And in a sense, maybe master is not the best word for it, because, you know, it's your ego that sits on top of it. Maybe that's the best, the better form of it. Yeah, it's your ego that sits on top of it. You know, you can have someone else look at it, and try to figure some things out for you, but in the end, it's your ego that needs to interact with the anima, and in a sense the self, and really go on that journey, yeah, yourself. Yeah, that's kind of yeah, what I wanted to say.